Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to our second edition of Breaking News for this Tuesday, the 11th day of November, 2025, Veterans Day here in the United States of America. And the latest headlines illustrate Israel's uphill battle against a world that is dead set against it. Here they are. Jerusalem Post. Supposedly now, Israel and U.S. reach a deal to deport the 200 terrorists from beyond the Yellow Line in Gaza. Now, this is an interesting story because it's only found in the Post as of right now. Whether it's true or not, we'll see, but we're going to report it anyway. Now, according to the Jerusalem Post, also, Kushner is Israel's acting prime minister. This is Overthrow Liberman, one of the other ministers of the Knesset. He launched a scathing attack on the government. We'll look at what he has to say. And let me tell you, many people agreed with him in the comments there. And then, with respect to the Jewish News Syndicate, the Israel deputy foreign minister urges the demolition of the Gaza tunnel with Hamas terrorists inside. So this is boy, I tell you, it goes from A to Z, doesn't it? How they want to deal with these terrorists and the division within Israel. Then finally, from JFEED, following Operation Rising Lion, Israeli aims to overthrow Iranian regime by 2029. The article is all about why, while Donald Trump is still president, Israel must, with the United States' help, get rid of this current regime in Iran because you don't know what the next president's going to do, if he's going to be on the side of Israel like Trump has been. So, a really interesting article here. So, these stories, basically what they do, they illustrate the impossible conditions that Israel faces in our world today, that continual search for lasting peace, but they'll never find it. All the while, the entire world will hate them as they remain in the world's spotlight. We know from Scripture there'll be no solution until nationally the people receive Jesus Christ as their Messiah, and then the Lord returns. And of course, we document this in our book, 25 Signs Are Near the End, from our website, Educating Our World, under the heading of Bible Prophecy. It is a free download, as is all of our books, and so please take advantage of it so you can know exactly what the Bible has to say about what it says about the conditions of the last days and how the world is setting up perfectly with what Scripture predicts as we're living here in the times of the end. All right, let's look at these headlines. They're fascinating today. Headline number one: Israel U.S. reach a deal to deport 200 terrorists from beyond the Yellow Line in Gaza. This from the Jerusalem Post. And interesting, the first sentence here. Notably, no country has agreed to take the Hamas terrorists. Take them in after they are deported. Many suggestions there. People would say, well, send them to Qatar or to Turkey, send them to France, send them to, the United States, Dearborn, Michigan, or someplace like that. Israel and the United States on Tuesday reached a significant compromise, agreeing on the deportation of some 200 Hamas terrorists currently hiding in tunnels within the IDF-controlled Yellow Line in Rafah. The Jerusalem Post has learned. That's why they're exclusively reporting it now. This agreement comes as part of ongoing efforts to eliminate Hamas's presence in the region. However, despite the arrangement, no country has yet agreed to accept the deported individuals, leaving a key aspect of the deal unresolved. I would say so. The decision follows Prime Minister Netanyahu's meeting with Special Envoy and son-in-law of U.S. President Donald Trump, that's Jared Kushner, at his Jerusalem office. They also discussed disarming Hamas, demilitarizing Gaza, and ensuring Hamas has no role in Gaza ever again. Again, this is the Israeli demands. Whether they'll come to pass or not, what we've been talking about day after day. We talked about that earlier today. All right. Like we said, this story is only showing up right now in the Jerusalem Post. If true, it will be because of the pressure the United States has put on Israel, and this will not bode well for America, but may indeed be further evidence of its decline. Sign 11 of our 25 signs were near the end. No superpower will intervene on Israel's behalf when they're invaded. Ezekiel 38:39, something will happen in the United States. We will lose our international standing. We're conspicuous by our absence at the time of the end. So sadly, we're going to see the country degrading, and we're seeing this right now big time. And if you continue to attack Israel, if you can, by not helping them get what they need, then Israel will continue to suffer because of that, but the United States will suffer all the more. Genesis 12:1-3, still in the Bible. God said, I'm going to bless those that bless Abraham's descendants. I'm going to curse those that curse. And so this is what we're seeing happen right now. Now, furthermore, if this story is true, it'll continue to cause uproar amongst the Israeli people, as our next two stories illustrate. Headline number two: Kushner is Israel's acting PM. Liberman launches a scathing attack on the government. Some also from the Jerusalem Post. Those bloodthirsty terrorists who killed IDF soldiers after the ceasefire have only two options: surrender or die. Liberman derided Jared Kushner as Israel's acting prime minister and said terrorists in Rafah have two options: surrender or die. Speaking at a Israel Betenu faction meeting at the Knesset on Monday, the Israeli Betenu head sarcastically thanked acting Prime Minister Jared Kushner and member of the Security Cabinet Steve Witkoff for their brief visit, then stressed Israel's bottom line in Rafah after a recent ceasefire incident. Those bloodthirsty terrorists who killed IDF soldiers after the ceasefire have only two options: surrender or die, because it's from these 200 people inside. I guess they're trapped inside this tunnel because the Israelis say they are the ones who killed these three Israeli soldiers since after this ceasefire came into being. And again, this reflects 9/11 again and the interference of the United States, because it's only because of U.S. interference that this is even considered as an option of letting these people go. Again, they're not going to have them let them go yet because they got no place to send them. Now, with another point of view here, this one's really interesting. This shows the differences in the discussions and the divisions among Israel. Israel's deputy foreign minister urges demolition of Gaza tunnel with Hamas terrorists inside. Jewish News Syndicate. So long as we capitulate to their demands, the terror group will continue to further blackmail the state of Israel. Sharon Haskell told Jewish News Syndicate. Israel should immediately destroy the Gaza tunnel, in which as many as 200 Hamas terrorists are trapped, despite international pressure to release them, Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister Sharon Haskell said on Tuesday. The blunt remarks by Israel's second highest diplomat come even as American envoys have been reportedly pressuring Israel to secure safe passage for the terrorists in exchange for them giving up their weapons. The state of Israel needs to send an unequivocal message to Hamas and blow up this tunnel with the 200 terrorists inside, Haskell told JNS, Jewish News Syndicate, in an interview during an official visit to Paris. Since the ceasefire was signed, Hamas has continually been testing us and pushing back the red lines and blackmailing us, and this needs to stop. She noted that some of the terrorists trapped in the tunnel under Rafah in Israeli-controlled Gaza had participated in the October 7, 2023 attack on southern Israel and murdered Israeli civilians and soldiers. So long as we capitulate to their demands, the terror group will continue to further blackmail the state of Israel, she said. The international pressure to release the terrorists gathered steam this week, as we've been talking about, following Sunday's release of the body of Lieutenant Hadar Goldin, which had been held by Hamas in Gaza for over 11 years. The terms of the U.S. brokered ceasefire, to which Hamas agreed, required the terrorist group to immediately release all hostages, living or dead. And they released the living ones right away, but it's been a month. There's still at least 4 deceased hostages' bodies that haven't been released. Earlier this week, Israeli Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Avi Dichter, who is a member of the country's security cabinet, said that the potential release of 200 Hamas terrorists was a tactical issue. Whether they are allowed to leave or not was meaningless in the long term, as they would eventually be tracked down by Israeli security, he said. If there will be a tactical need to go, then they will go. They will not take Social Security with terrorists that killed Israelis. We will close the story. In other words, even if they're let go now, they will not survive. We know who they are. We know where they'll be. We'll make sure they do not anyway exist any longer. Now, this is an attitude that many Israelis hold. Again, what Sharon Dichter said, and basically the idea behind this is they should be put to death for their role in October 7th, 2023 attack on these, Israeli citizens, men, women, children, on the murder there, and not let them go just because they're trapped in a tunnel. That's their problem. They're fighting. They're there. They've been there for a couple of years. They're fighting against Israel, and so again, we've got the controversy within the country. Again, the United States is right in the middle of this, pressuring Israel, as we see in each of the stories, to let them go, and not because of the pressure from some of the Arab countries there, and to keep the Trump peace plan working, because he keeps saying it's going great. There's peace in the Middle East. It's going fine. Hamas is only a small part of it. We've got peace going. And, we'll see. We got 7 days, a week from today, when this November 18th thing takes place, when Mohammed bin Salman comes to the U.S., the head of, as it were, of Saudi Arabia. And he's made some deal with Trump, and it's going to be a huge thing. So we'll see what all happens in that, and see how it affects Israel. So in one sense, like we've been saying, that's what we're waiting for. Now, in the meantime, we have another huge story here. Following Operation Rising Lion, A leading Israeli, and they don't mention his name, aims to overthrow the Iranian regime by 2029. Now, this story's been in a couple of different websites, a couple of Israeli periodicals here. They don't mention who the person is, but here's what the story is. A top Israeli official has articulated a new strategic goal to overthrow the Iranian regime by 2029, a declaration that follows intelligence reports revealing Tehran is secretly building new nuclear sites and preparing for a massive missile war. Remember, they're going to send up 2,000 missiles at once, according to the story, hit Israel instead of 500 over a period of 12 days. A senior Israeli official has publicly declared that Israel must set a definitive objective to see that the Islamic regime in Iran is toppled by the conclusion of U.S. President Donald Trump's current term in 2029. The ambitious statement conveyed to Khan News on Monday comes amidst escalating tensions and alarming reports concerning Iran's clandestine nuclear activities. The push for regime change signals an intensified strategic focus in Jerusalem, which views Tehran's nuclear program as an existential threat, which it is. If they could, they would destroy Israel today. They had the opportunity. The official's comments coincide with the rising anxiety over Iran's attempts to rapidly rebuild and restore the nuclear infrastructure that was severely degraded during Israel's Operation Rising Lion and the coordinated U.S. action Operation Midnight Hammer. Next heading here is Iran's covert nuclear buildup. Fueling the urgency behind the Israeli officials' timeline is intelligence suggesting Iran is accelerating its nuclear progress without international oversight. The New York Times previously reported that Iran is constructing a new, highly secure underground site, ominously dubbed as Pickaxe Mountain. The covert nature and lack of external monitoring at such facilities heighten fears that Iran is moving closer and closer to achieving nuclear capability. Analysts warns that the current lack of reliable information, because they won't let the inspectors in, regarding the exact condition and timeline of the Iranian nuclear program, significantly increases the probability, and here it is, of another preemptive Israeli strike. For Israel, allowing Iran to reach the nuclear threshold is just not an option, making continuous intervention a strategic necessity. And then the last heading here, escalating threat and retaliation fears. In response to the mounting pressure and potential for military confrontation, Tehran is reportedly preparing for a massive, overwhelming retaliation. We talked about this the other day. Intelligence sources indicate that Iran has shifted its war planning. Instead of being prepared to fire approximately 500 missiles over a 12-day war, as previously estimated, Tehran is now said to be preparing to fire an estimated 2,000 missiles per day at Israel in the event of a renewed strike on its facilities. This preparedness for a significantly higher volume of fire underscores the extreme risks involved in any future military action targeting Iran's nuclear ambitions. The time frame set by the Israeli official, again, to achieve regime change by the end of 2029 links Israel's national security objective directly to the continuity of the Trump administration, suggesting Jerusalem believes that the U.S. is its most vital partner in pursuing a maximalist strategy against the Iranian regime. And plus the fact in 2029, which will come before we know it, there'll be someone new in the White House, and whether he or she supports Israel remains to be seen. All right, so here's our final comments. Iran does need to be neutralized to the degree that it's merely a secondary military power in the Middle East. We mentioned this before. According to scripture, it will be done one way or another. Russia will be the most powerful enemy of Israel at the time of the end. Sign 9 of our 25 signs are near the end. In the last days, certain specified nations will invade Israel, Ezekiel 38:39, and we list them. We list Israel, the country invaded, the nations that will be part of the invasion, Russia, Iran, and Turkey, the leading nations there. And then the ones sitting it out, Egypt and the United States, they're not mentioned at all. But then the ones protesting, the Saudis and the Gulf states. So you have 4 interest groups going on here. The nation invaded, the invaders, those sitting it out where we hear nothing of, and then those who protest. And so the stage is being set for all this, as we talk about day after day. But it's still a long way off because there's certain things that still need to happen. At least 5 things need to happen, as we mentioned, that haven't happened yet. But it is going to take place in God's timing. So we stand back, look at the situation again as we see each day. what the Bible predicts the world will be like, what Israel will be like, falling into place precisely as the scripture said. Jesus in John 16 made that clear to his disciples on the night of his betrayal. He said, I've told you these things ahead of time because when they take place, then you will believe. And so, same thing here. That's why we do this every day to encourage you so you won't be disillusioned or discouraged. I'm Don Stewart. Thank you so much for watching these programs, telling others about what we're doing, and praying for us. We really need it. And until next time, as always, may the Lord richly, richly bless you.